and happy April. Welcome to my channel if you're new here, and welcome back if you're a regular. I'm now past the 36-week mark in my pregnancy, which is super exciting because at the end of last week, I got to have the big 36-week ultrasound and birth plan review session with my OB. The baby is considered full term anytime beyond the start of the 37th week, so anytime from here on out, according to my OB. So his arrival really is just around the corner, which is crazy. At the appointment, we got lots of good news about the baby's development and positioning, so I'm feeling very grateful and relieved. And now we're just kind of waiting while we scramble through our move and getting our house all set up and ready. If you watched last week's video, you know that it included lots of amazing advice and insights from 5 new moms at 5 different stages in their postpartum journeys. Again, big thanks to the ladies who contributed to that video, and I'll link to it below in case you missed it. I didn't really get a chance to reflect or sum things up at the end of that video because there was just so much packed into it, and I didn't want to cut out any of the great advice from those moms. So today I'm going to be reflecting on some of my thoughts and key takeaways watching those video clips as I come to the end of my pregnancy. We'll do our deep breath to arrive first. So sit up tall, and 1, 2, 3, in, and out. So I've summarized some of the key points I personally took away from the advice from our super mamas last week in this list here. And I'm going to briefly chat about each one during today's video. To start, thinking through different options for various aspects of newborn care in detail ahead of time, instead of having one specific action plan or approach in mind. This idea came up a few times in different areas of the video. For example, Maria mentioned really thinking through the decision to use cloth diapers and all the steps that this involves ahead of time. And Christiane mentioned thinking through different sleeping options, since there's a chance that the primary recommendation these days of having the baby sleep on his or her back with nothing around them may just not work for your baby. These were good reminders to me to not be too rigid in my mind with specific plans or rules, and to think through different options for everything ahead of time. This way, I'm not completely caught off guard if something I thought was going to work and be a straightforward approach doesn't end up working at all. Next, we have keeping an open mind and trying to go with the flow through the labor and delivery process. I'm going to be honest, some of the moms' comments about the labor and delivery process terrified me. Leah mentioned that nothing ever goes as planned, and Kat said that it's the first time in her life that she's had no control whatsoever over what's happening to her. As a control freak and planner, these things make labor and delivery sound like my absolute worst nightmare, but they did emphasize to me how important it's going to be for me to try my best to keep an open mind, just go with the flow, and surrender, as Kat said. I've been trying to get into this mindset through different strategies like visualization, so I'll keep you posted on how I fare when my time comes. I also really appreciated Maria's comments about the shaking you experienced during a C-section, since that was newer to me. And I appreciated Coralie's pro tip about asking for lots of popsicles and Jell-O at the hospital, since she delivered at the same hospital that I plan to deliver at. If all my other strategies fail, at least there will still be popsicles and Jell-O waiting for me, and that's something I can get behind. The next topic is a big one, breastfeeding. Of course, breastfeeding is such a personal decision and one that should be made with the consideration of so many different factors, such as physical factors of the mom and baby, lifestyle of the mom and family, parental leave and work policies, and extent of family support. At my recent appointment, my OB warned me that the hospital that I'll be delivering at is very breastfeeding friendly. And I've heard from others that this can translate to being very breastfeeding pushy. So far, I've been lucky to be made to feel like there's no right or wrong decision and that it's completely my choice. And I really hope that those of you out there who are pregnant or plan to get pregnant in the future will keep this in mind as well. With that said, I have decided that I'm going to give breastfeeding a fair shot with the understanding that it's going to be extremely challenging at first. 2 of the 5 moms in my last video said that breastfeeding has been the most challenging part of being a mom so far, and they cited lots of tears, sore nipples, etc. in the early days. Side note, I really appreciated Christiane's tip about using the lanolin nipple creams. versus the organic shea butter-based creams. Definitely going to keep that one in mind. Anyways, I'm going to go into breastfeeding, again, with an open mind, ready to work through challenges as much as I have the capacity to, and most importantly, with different backup options in mind, which relates to my first key takeaway about not fully committing to one approach at all costs. I'll have the mindset that it's okay if it doesn't work out, and it doesn't mean I'm a failure or anything like that. Also, my social worker brought up the good point related to lifestyle factors, that obviously breastfeeding puts more demand on the mom in terms of having to do the feeding every 2 hours, doing all the pumping, etc., which can significantly impact the mom's sleep. And sleep happens to be the most important predictor of mental health outcomes for new moms. So for me, as someone who is at a higher risk of postpartum due to my prenatal mental health challenges, this is obviously something that's very important to keep in mind. It may just not be in my baby's best interests for me to continue to try to push through breastfeeding if the subsequent lack of sleep is contributing to a decline in my mental health. So again, just things to keep in mind, and I'll keep you all posted on how it plays out for us. Moving on to worthy investments. Based on the experiences from the 5 mamas in my last video, the Snuggle Me Organic Infant Lounger, a carrier wrap, particularly the Baby Beluga or Solly brand ones, and the Halo SleepSack Swaddle wrap are all worthy investments for a new little one. I actually somehow hadn't heard of the Snuggle Me Organic Lounger until hearing from these ladies, but I've ordered it now, so big thanks to the, I think, 3 of you who mentioned that specific product. And then the ladies also recommended a carrier wrap, which I do have and I'm looking forward to using since I like to be on my feet doing things, as well as the Halo SleepSack Swaddle wrap. Oh, and by the way, I loved Kat's advice on it not really being necessary to overbuy ahead of time, because in today's world, it's super easy to order or Amazon Prime, whatever you need for the next morning. And I know I'm definitely guilty of losing sight of this as I prepare for my baby's arrival. Again, these helpful recommendations emphasize to me the importance of reaching out to others who have gone through something you're going to go through for some insights. The next takeaway is keeping self-care simple. Over this early mat leave, I've spent a lot of time thinking about and revamping what self-care looks like for me. So I was especially curious about what self-care looks like for new moms as I prepare for that phase. I really love the advice about keeping self-care simple and just appreciating the little things like longer showers, which 3 of the moms mentioned, or short walks outdoors or to the park with your baby, as opposed to trying to fit in fancy manicures or expensive trips or other things that really just aren't realistic for most new moms. Whether you're a mother or not, if you have any other simple self-care activities that you enjoy, please share them below. Moving on to accepting all help, which was an overwhelming takeaway from the video clips and something that I'm going to try to keep reminding myself to do. Asking for or accepting help is definitely not something that comes naturally to me at all, and I know I'm not the only one in this boat. My innate response to someone asking if they can help is, nope, I've got this. Of course, my more recent mental health challenges have taught me the benefits and importance of accepting help and have made it a little easier for me to do this, at least in certain areas of my life, but it is still an ongoing challenge for me. In these last few weeks leading up to my baby's arrival, and especially in the first few months after he makes his appearance, I'm going to try hard to be more open to help by reminding myself that, 1, I am so lucky to have so many generous and supportive friends and family who are willing to help in various ways. And 2, at the end of the day, my number 1 goal is to do what's best for our baby and what's best for our little family. And struggling through things while acting like I've got this definitely is not going to serve that goal. So when help is offered, instead of quickly responding with my usual, no, we're fine, I'm going to actually take a step back, think through the situation, and consider whether that help might actually be the best thing for us, which it probably is. And last but not least, trusting yourself was another idea that came through in the video. I was reassured by Kat saying, I really just had no idea what to do with a baby, because 99% of the time, that's how I feel going into this. But like these moms said, at the end of the day, it's important to trust yourself and trust your intuition. In many areas, your approach will likely be different than your friends, sisters, or mom's approach. For example, like Kat also mentioned, tracking milestones may be helpful for some people, but stressful for others. You have to find what works for you and your family and then trust that approach. Lastly, on this note, I really liked Leah's advice about focusing on taking in tips and help from those people in your close, trusted circle, as opposed to trying to sift through and take in all the advice out there on the web and social media, which can be extremely overwhelming. All right, so that's all I've got for today. I'm looking forward to keeping you all posted on how easily I'm able to integrate some of this wisdom into my own transition to motherhood. Next week, I'll be switching gears from the topic of pregnancy/motherhood and moving into a new topic of finances, with expertise from a financial advisor who's going to be sharing some relevant, everyday financial tips and tricks for all of us. So stay tuned. Lastly, thank you to those of you participating in the April Quote Challenge so far. I hope you're having fun looking for meaningful words out there in our world. If you'd still like to join, feel free to comment below or shoot me a message and I'll get you added. Let's close up with a big deep breath on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, in and out. Have a great week, everyone.